Hey guys, it's been a while since I made one of these. We're nearing 50,000 subscribers soon, and for that I wanted to make something special. Sometimes I get asked on my Twitter on how I go about animating, and while this video isn't a tutorial per se, I'll still show you my process. I'll link some of my favorite tutorials in the description below. I got a message from Gammon asking if I wanted to try their tablets for review, and me being in need of a much larger tablet, of course I said yes. So expect that later in the video. For now, let's talk about my process. So if you didn't know, I work in a program called Clip Studio Paint. It's well suited to my workflow and has a lot of different aspects to it. One of those being an animation template. Mind you, I'm using the X version of Clip Studio Paint, which means that I'm not limited to only working with 24 frames of animation, unlike the Pro version. Something to take note of in case you'd like to try it yourself. When you start, you'll be greeted with this interface. I know it looks intimidating, but it's not that bad, I promise. I generally keep all my settings the same. Default 24 FPS, crop marks for when I draw outside the lines, all that good stuff. My subject for this animation will be a character I'm developing for a webcomic called The Sisterhood, so potentially expect that in the future. I like to focus on having at least 2 main keyframes that show the bulk of the pose and framing I'm trying to land. In this case, it's mouth open, mouth closed, and then I animate everything in between. This is called pose-to-pose animation, as opposed to straight ahead, where you just animate everything one by one. This was a breakthrough for me personally when I was just learning how to animate. I used to do things straight ahead and wonder why it didn't come out the way I wanted it to. Now, straight ahead is a very valid animation technique. I just think it feels better suited for effects animation or where perfectionism isn't needed. You may have caught this earlier, but I use layers differently when it comes to animating in this program. I learned this on Twitter, but there's a way to reduce the clutter. Instead of making separate folders for line art, color, etc., you could just put them all in one layer. So what you do is delete the default animation folder. Make a layer folder. Then put layers inside that folder. Label them however you please. Then you make a new animation folder and put the layer folder inside the animation folder. Go to the timeline. If it's not there, just check Window, then Timeline. Right-click the timeline to show these options. Click the one with the layer folder's name and presto! You have now made multiple layers in a single animation cell. If you want another, just click New Animation Cell and it's done automatically. If it looks like I'm going back and forth, it's because I am. I'm moving the frames around to try to match with the audio and to see if the animation lines up properly. I'm using the onion skin to help with that, which are those red and green lines you see. The onion skin is very helpful, but I've been learning not to rely on it too much. Instead, if something looks off and the onion skin is making it hard to see, I'll just flip it back and forth like how you would with traditional animation on paper. That usually does the trick. Before I move on, let's get into that GAOMON review, shall we? I've been using it for a few weeks now, and specifically to make this video, and I've been loving it so far. It's taken a little bit of time to get used to, but it's nice having a tablet of this size again. This specific brand is called the GAOMON M10K 2018. It has a 10 by 6.25 inch working area, battery-free pen, 8192 level sensitivity, 1 touch ring, 1 round ring, and 10 hotkeys. The Gammon website lists the M10K 2018 at $69.99 due to extra accessories. The one I received came from eBay, which is listed at $39.99, on sale now for $33.69. As someone who's used to buying $500 tablets, these prices are an absolute steal for me. I was kinda shocked that a tablet this high def cost this little. Mine came with a tablet pen and case, a pack with extra pen nibs, and a bag to slip the tablet into. Setting up was the easiest experience I ever had setting up a tablet. All you have to do is uninstall any other tablets on your computer, download the correct driver, then restart your computer, and that's it. You can coordinate your settings as you please. As someone who draws quickly, it took some time getting used to the M10K. It's a bit slower, not in a laggy way, but like it has a stabilizer turned all the way up all the time. If I could suggest anything for the future, it it would be for Gammon to add a calibration settings to the menu for the pen. In spite of that, I was able to get my pen settings back to normal quite quickly, and it's been smooth sailing ever since. In short, the M10K 2018 is an excellent tablet, highly recommended, especially if you're on a budget but want a nice quality tablet to work with. Thank you to Gammon for letting me try it out. Now back to the speed paint. Or is it speed animation? Speed animation? Anyway, another tip I'd like to share is about lip sync, the bane of every animator's existence. Nah, but for real, you just gotta know how sounds work more than anything. As imperfect humans, we don't always say things how they're actually written. It's better to really listen to how someone says the words. It's like mayonnaise to mayonnaise, or tomato tomato. It's those little inflections that are the most important. Also, you want to animate lip sync at least 2 frames before you hear the sound you want to animate. I think there's something said about humans processing audio faster before visuals, so the images have to catch up. But I could be wrong. Could be other way around for all I know. But trust me, you'll be better off for it. Speaking of audio, this is a Clip Studio specific issue, but if you're able to use a WAV file over MP3, do it. Clip Studio Paint hates MP3 for some reason, and it always glitches the audio out at the end. For my audio, the only version that was free was the MP3 version, so that's the one I downloaded. But again, if you're able to use WAV file, do that one instead. I was asked to go over Clip's camera, so here's how to do that. The camera is on its own separate layer, and you have to insert folders into that layer for them to move. You will not be able to edit your layer folder when you do this, so I suggest finishing everything beforehand. You can take out the layer folders to edit them as needed. In the Subtool Operations section of the toolbars, select Object, and all the options should be there. Really, all I do is change the display mode from Show Field Guides to Show Camera's Field of View, and then add whatever keyframes I need to add. The camera's view makes it easier to see the final result, but it takes some more loading time, so please be aware of that. Keyframes in this case are like the keyframes in editing programs like After Effects. You click wherever you want the camera to move with the transform tool, and that's it. But I think that's all the tips I got for now. If you don't mind, I'd like to talk about this comic I'm planning. So I always wanted to make a lion comic, but felt like the webcomic scene was oversaturated with them as far as xenofiction goes. But sometimes you just gotta look at things and go, who cares, just make what you want. The other issue is that I didn't really know what I wanted the subject to be about. Then I thought about some things that were important to me and how I could fit them into a story about lion social dynamics. And what I came up with was a story about a lioness who, after almost losing her cubs to a rogue male, leaves her birth pride with her sisters and decides to make her own pride composed of only lionesses and their cubs. That's just a general baseline. I wanted to make something tackling the societal roles we place on others and how that doesn't really help anyone in the long run, and how sticking to rules and traditions in ways that harm others deserve to be challenged. Lions are very interesting to me because most of what the general public sees or understands about them is often incorrect, mythologized, or skewed in some way. This idea of lions being kings of the jungle when they don't even live in the jungle, or that only lionesses do the hunting when that isn't true either. Stuff like that I'm planning on integrating into the plot and how the lions view themselves and their own history. But I don't want to give away too much, so you have to wait and see. But yeah, I think that's it from me. There's a little bit left of the speed paint to go, so I'm gonna let it play out. But if you have any questions or suggestions, let me know down below, and I'll get back to you when I can. Thanks for watching, everyone.